Yeah, Leicester's where we're at for hour number 203 717 Let me start off by saying there is no way in a million years Leicester will go down this season. It just will not happen for a number of reasons. One, I think they've got a decent enough squad to stay up. I don't think they'll even be in with a sniff of going down. And also, I think there's worse teams in the Premier League. I think there's going to be other teams that are going to find it much more difficult. Namely, the three that are coming up, Bournemouth, Fulham and Forest. I think it's so difficult for teams coming up, even more so now, because the gap is so, financially, the gap is so big between teams that are already in the Premier League and sides that are coming up. And they need to, I think you almost need to completely change your squad from a Championship side to a Premier League side if you're going to have a chance of staying up. We've seen so many teams that haven't really strengthened properly and they've gone straight back down. So I don't think Leicester will finish outside the top 12, and I think they'll probably finish higher than that. But I don't see it being a problem. But what I will say with Leicester, I've got a sheet in front of me of players that are coming towards the end of their deal. So the players I'm going to read out, their deal ends next year. I'll just read some of them out. Tielemans, Vardy, Schmeichel, Evans, Chowdhury, Bertrand. There's quite a few more. But I just worry, is that what are Leicester doing? They haven't bought anyone. I just wonder where Leicester are at the moment, because there was a time they won the league, then they won the FA Cup, and you're thinking, Leicester, they're turning into something different here. But at the moment, I'm looking at Leicester going, they might get left behind.
Yeah, to say Leicester are going to be in a relegation battle, never mind go down, is nonsense for me. Absolute nonsense. They will finish top 10 comfortably, if not challenge for Europe. Now, if you look at who they lost last season, Wesley Fofana, obviously terrible to lose in pre-season, was out for 3/4 of a season, and Didi half a season missing, Johnny Evans half a season, James Justin 3/4 of a season. Maddison was on and off with a hip injury. Vardy missed a lot of games. I think he only played 25 Premier League games. These players are going to be back. That's over half your probably starting 11 that are going to be back. They finished 8th. Like, they weren't struggling last season. They had a poor start. We get that, but they finished 8th. They finished above Brighton, who everyone said had a fantastic season. They finished above them. They've got a great manager. The list of players that are out of contract, okay, that's not great. But if you look at them, like Vardy, he's 35. He's not going to leave, in my opinion, unless a ridiculous fee comes in for him, which is not going to happen. Schmeichel potentially may leave, but they'll get someone else in. Youri Tielemans, if he leaves, they'll get 35 million for Tielemans, I think, maybe to Arsenal. The issue that they have, like you say, is they're not signing anyone. Now, there's still 5 weeks to go. If Tielemans was to go for 30 million, 35 million, Schmeichel, potentially they could get 10 million for Schmeichel. Who knows? Soyuncu, I think he's got a year left. He could leave. You'd get 10, 15 million for Soyuncu, maybe more. That could be reinvested. So they potentially, we don't know what's going on behind the scenes. They could be waiting for players to leave to get players in. We don't know. It's signing the right players. Last season they didn't, if you remember. Samora, I think, cost 25 million from Lille, who had just won the league. It's done nothing for Leicester at the moment. Vestergaard, they paid, 15 million? Done nothing really for Leicester. Bertrand's only played 4 Premier League games. So the recruitment has to be better, in my opinion. But I think they have to get players out to bring players in. And the players we mentioned, I think, potentially could be leaving. Losing Maddison would be massive. If they lose Maddison, that could be massive. But they'll still be absolutely fine.
What about, I agree with you, obviously. What about sides like Newcastle that you think are going to get better?
Yep.
Sides like Everton, who I expect to spend money soon and start strengthening. There are other... When you look at where Leicester have been and what they've done, Leicester fans, I'm guessing, want them to move on from that, to get bigger and better. Are they standing still at the moment?
Yeah, I'd say you're about right. Yeah. I think 8th is... I look at Leicester and I think 8th last season, it's probably where I would have put them in my prediction, 8th or 9th. And I'll probably say exactly the same thing in this season.
So they overachieve, right? When they were 4th for so long and fell out twice and finished 5th. Yeah, that's overachieving.
Of course it is. And they're going to be disappointed because the way they lost the Champions League 4th spot, it'll be harsh. And it takes it out of you, and I know that. But we're hearing in the feature, should they be finishing above Man City, Liverpool, Chelsea, Spurs, Arsenal, Man United? Should they be finishing above those teams? No, they shouldn't. So to even be competing with fourth, however disappointing it is to not make fourth spot, to be competing is a massive achievement in itself.
Let me ask you, because you look at the Premier League, it's interesting you name those sides, right? The way I see it, I'm sure you agree, the Premier League split into three. It's
Yep.
the big heads, then you've got the rest, or the best of the rest.
Yep.
Like these teams. I'll put West Ham in there as well, Leicester, Wolves, and some Brighton. And then you've got the teams at the bottom that are going to struggle. If you divide them up into three tiers, right?
Yeah.
Are Leicester looking to be top of tier 2? Is that the best they can achieve this realistically?
Yeah, I'd have that, absolutely. That's a good way of putting it, actually. I'd say they'd be top of tier 2, and one of the teams in tier 2 that's looking to push into tier 1, the bottom half of tier 1, along with West Ham, along with Newcastle. I'll add Newcastle to that list this season. I'd say Wolves are in. I don't know. I think Wolves could be sliding, in my opinion. I think they potentially, but they're still in tier 2. But I think those three teams, I wouldn't have Brighton, I wouldn't have Palace at the moment pushing into tier 1. I think I'd have those three teams, Man United, Leicester and Newcastle, that's trying to get out of tier 2 and make their way into tier 1.
Man United are in tier 2?
No, did I say Man United?
Yeah.
Oh, no, Newcastle, West Ham and Leicester.
Oh, I thought we were going to have a big old debate there. Let's take calls. Ross is a Leicester fan. 03717223344. He's dialed. And he can have his say on National Radio. Hello, Ross. How are you? Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. How you doing?
We're great. How are you? You well?
Yeah, I'm all good. Thank you very much. First time caller, so a little bit nervous.
How long have you... Don't be nervous. How long have you listened to talkSPORT for?
About a good 9 years now, I reckon.
And how comes this is the first time you've picked the phone up?
I think it's just because the negativity surrounding Leicester over the last few days. I just thought I'd give you guys a call to talk about it, really.
Right, well, listen, don't be nervous. Imagine we're in the pub, sat opposite each other, having a beer. Right?
I'd be nervous for you.
I haven't bought the round, by the way, Ross. I'll never do that, right? But you've just heard from Darren. You've just heard from me. So what do you want to say about your side?
To be fair, Darren's pretty much nailed it, really. He's pretty much taken the majority of what I was going to say, really.
Okay, we'll get the round in. It's your turn. Go on. What do you want to add to it, Ross? Go on.
Yeah, so, I mean, for me, I actually think we go into this season in a stronger position than what we went into the start of last season. And I think the reasons for that is obviously Fofana broke his leg in the last game of pre-season. Castagna had broken his cheekbone at the Euros. Mm-hmm. James Justin was still recovering from his ACL. Johnny Evans' injury was still pretty much unknown. So we actually went into the start of last season without our back four pretty much.
Okay. Does it worry you then, Ross? Two things. Does it worry you you've not bought anyone yet? Do you think you need to buy anyone? And I just read out a list of players, big name players at your club that have got a year left. Is that a worry?
Yeah, I mean, it is frustrating that we've not signed anyone, but I think the big thing that people need to realise is that obviously our wages are pretty much maxed out at the moment. So I think there's obviously this new ruling that's come in relation to turnover and wages, and we're maxed out at the minute. So until we can start shifting some of the dead wood, which we're struggling to do, and obviously that is the reason why we're not signing anyone. Obviously you hear other shows talking about, Rodgers not being backed and stuff like that, but it's just purely a case of we physically just can't spend until we shift some of the dead wood, and the majority of that dead wood are all signings made under Rodgers, really. Okay.
Ross, how did your first call on National Radio go?
It was all right. I've had to pull over and calm down a bit, but no, it was good. I enjoyed it.
Okay, well, I thought you were excellent, because there'll be other people listening to this that have never phoned National Radio before thinking, oh, Ross has done okay, I might do it. But it was okay, yeah?
Yeah, it was all right.
Okay. Make sure you call us back again. Then, of course, it's call number 2, then 3, and so on. All right?
Will do.
Okay, you know your stuff. Have a lovely day. Thanks, Ross.
Yeah, thank you.
See, Ross was nervous and shy, but he was great.
Nailed it.
He did nail it. Well done to you, Ross. If you've never phoned talkSPORT before, now's the turn. Pick up the phone. 03717 223344.